how does one even falsify a spirit, a immaterial spirit in the first place, right? How do we make it testable? How is it knowable, right? How do you, a finite mortal constrained by space, time, and matter, have knowledge of transcendental things outside of space, time, and matter? Where is the explanatory power coming from, right? All of this shit is being produced by your mind, just like the concept of God is being produced by your mind, right? We explain the world and we explain ourselves through concepts of God, but the God itself, it's not even a functional thing. It has no independent function. It's not an independent agent, right? Unless you could prove one is. But like saying God created humans, God created the universe, like that's not explanatory success. It doesn't add anything to our understanding at all. Where it just literally defers the problem till later. So there's that. Okay. All right. So what do I even do now that we fought that dragon? Let's go back here, see if we can open this up. Yeah. All I'm saying is this, right? Humans invented God. It's it's an explanatory claim, and I feel it has explanatory success, meaning it explains the how, the why, and in some instances the where and the when. How do we know about the types of gods that have existed historically? From archaeology. How do we know the roles these gods played in the societies of the people that produced them? Anthropology. It's the same way you have any notion of what religion you believe in today. It's exactly the same. Only difference is you still believe in it. But there's never, as far as I'm aware, ever been any evidence that gods exist as independent agents capable of having an effect on our physical material reality. Right? There's never been any evidence of that. But what there is plenty of evidence of, the gods that we've come up with and where we can find them. Right, maybe it's there. What do you mean untamed? Well, obviously Islam is just another religion, isn't it? It's a spring-off religion from the same history of Levant. It's just another spring-off. Like there's Judaism. I can't. Let me just check my notes, see what kind of time period that comes around. Or it's not really Judaism. It's like the Israelites are a tribe, right? So the earliest layer of God making in the Levant is 3,500 to 2,300 BCE. The next layer is 2,300 to 1,200 BCE, which is the Akkadians and the Babylonians. So sorry, I'll slow down. The first layer of the genealogy of the God of the Bible is ancient Sumer, 3,500 to 2,300 BCE. Right. Then there's the Akkadian slash Babylonian period, 2,300 to 1,200 BCE. Then there's the Northwest Semitic slash Canaanite religion, 2000 to 1200 BCE. Then there's the early Israelites. This is 1200 to 900 BCE. So at this point is where you get like the beginnings of the religions that follow them, right? So Islam is just an extension of that. So what was I trying to say? Yeah, right, that's it. All right. So early Israelites, like 1200, 900 BCE. Christianity comes 1500 years after the Israelites set about doing what they're doing. Then Islam comes 650 years after the Christians set about doing what they're doing. But they're all ultimately building off of ancient Sumer traditions in the Levant. Okay, the god concepts evolve in the Levant in the same way they evolve in Europe, in Africa, and in Indus Valley, and in Far East Asia. So Islam is just a religion which pertains to culture as much as Christianity is a religion that pertains to culture. When it comes to like God concepts, neither offer anything unique. They're just telling their culture's version of it. That's all there is to it, with all due respect. So yeah, there's no unique special props given there. No, it's just an expression of the same concepts that come out of the Levant. Right? That's all it is. But again, Interestingly enough, right, if you actually want to look at it from more of a geopolitical lens, the formation of Christianity is done via empire, the Roman Empire. So when they actually formulate the New Testament and it becomes like a codified religion, like Christianity, this is like happening within like 100-year period after the alleged demise of Jesus, right? Once it's codified, it's literally codified for use by the state. So it becomes the state religion once it's codified. Before the state codifies it, there are lots of pockets of like proto-Christians running around with their own interpretation of Jesus's teachings. But the state actually codifies all of those different teachings together, which is what's described as the Council of Nicaea. There's probably earlier events that happen with Paul and all those kinds of people. If this is true, I can't confirm, okay? But it's literally Christianity is codified for use by the state, right, which gives birth to Christendom essentially. Islam is the same thing. Once Muhammad was thought to be, I might be wrong here because I've not researched it completely, but Muhammad is thought to be some kind of military leader or such in the Arab world, okay? And in the Arab world at that time, they got a lot of theocracy, monarchy, that's like kings and shit, and lots of paganism happening, different cults and different sects doing like their worship. Let's not even call them pagans, because in the West, in Africa, in Australia, all of these people would have just been just doing indigenous practices, okay? Like Nordics have their version, the Anglos have their version, the Arab had their version, okay? So they were just doing indigenous practices. Muhammad is thought to be some kind of military dude. When they devised Islam as a concept, it literally became like enlisted, but like picked up and used by the state immediately. As soon as Islam was codified, it became the state religion. So it became a political vehicle instantly. But remember, Islam comes 650 years after Christianity, right? So they have all of this time to go around the world, collect information from the West, from the Arab world, from Far East, from Africa, to collate their ideas, okay, to bring Islam together. Just like how the Islamic world kept records of all of the Greek poets and philosophers. When the Islamic world took all that data, went back to the Arab world, right, made use of it and stuff, and then when they met with the Western world again, they reintroduced the old Greek ideas back to the West, okay, because they had already collated all this information from the world. So when Islam was getting put together, they had that background database from all these countries and all of this conquest happening in the Arab world, but they made Islam a state vehicle straight away. So it became a political vehicle from its inception. One could argue it was designed to be a political vehicle from its inception. Christianity, how it gets codified, becomes a political vehicle, right? Judaism, a little bit different. Judaism was like it was a tribe of people in the desert in the Levant called Israelites or Hebrews, and they were a war-based society. Nearly everyone in the Middle East was war-based. They were nomadic and war-based because it's deserts, okay? And they were constantly at war with people like the Canaanites, Akkadians, etc. Judaism survives more because it's an ethno-religion, right? It was never supposed to be a religion. It's just their culture. It's no different to Mesoamericans sitting around a campfire telling their ancestors or telling their predecessors or whatever, you know what I mean? Telling their kids about Quetzalcoatl, right? It's no different, right? It was really just a cultural effect, but because of the bridging of the Greek world and the Hebrew world, it became a real religion because of what the West was doing. But Judaism survives through imperialism as well and warfare, but more because it's an ethno-religion. So Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are essentially the same in terms of how they're propagated across the world and why they're still surviving. They're enforced by power, by states, by politics. Right? So that's my opinion on that. Right? They're the same people based on the same traditions in the Levant. They're just retelling it through a different cultural lens. If you don't understand what Christendom is, right, it's on the screen for you. Christendom isn't identical to Christianity, but it's the outcome of Christianity. And this lays the political foundation for imperialism, for the doctrine of discovery, for the papal bull, for the Dark Ages, right? For Spanish Inquisition, for all of these things. Some of the best stuff Europe's had and some of the worst stuff Europe's had has all been because of Christendom. Same thing in in the Africas and in the New World with like the Spanish and the Portuguese and all that kind of shit. So it's not good. I was created by my parents. You were probably created by yours, I would hope. It's not pre-recorded. No, not yet. I don't have any long form content about this particular subject yet, but I will at some point. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, there's lots of interesting content on there. There's also lots of past streams that you might have missed.
Together, we work together for Miquella the Kind.
What do you mean it all started? I think all good concepts started in human minds, and I think hyperactive agency detection device explains that why it started. It's so put it like this, right? If you was like speaking to philosophers, you get people that are like analytical philosophers and people that are like continental philosophers. Continental philosophers are more concerned with like overarching ideas and theories of how to think about things, right? While analytic is more like focused on specific jargon, equations, and logic, right? Humans have a proclivity to gravitate towards storytelling and storytelling mechanisms. Religion and theology is mostly centered in storytelling. That's how you keep human history alive, basically through anthropology. So if we think back to the hyperactive agency detection device, that's just literally humans spotting an event and assigning agency to it. That event gets story built around it, which then becomes like a legend, and then that thing gets deified. They start to create rituals to appease that thing. So I think that's how it started from that point of view. Okay, and then as time progresses and humans get more advanced psychologically, we gain an ability of abstraction and conceptualizing. We start to get what I like to call post hoc rationalizations. In the same way people would now borrow from analytical philosophy to argue for philosophy, they're literally waiting for something that occurs hundreds of years later, right, e.g. philosophy, to buttress theology, something that people have been thinking up for a long time. Okay, so that's all I'm trying to explain to you. Maybe I kind of distracted from the point a bit, but I think it started from literally assigning agency to things we don't understand. And as we develop, our God concepts develop, and we tell the story of humanity through gods. That's what I think happened. No, there's no reason to think they are prophets, angels, or devils. Again, they're all just concepts that humans produce. The angels and devils, again, produced by hyperactive agency detection device. People still do it to today. Something happens that they can't explain, and then they give it agency. Oh, there's a mind behind that curtain moving. There's a spirit. It's a demon. You know. Again, like as a side critique, religious thinking or magical thinking could be super dangerous because of that thing as well, where people will be like, right, so child is born with autism, right? Instead of understanding it from a scientific point of view or from a medical point of view, they'll say, oh, he has a demon. Child is born with a disability, it's a demon. Man is having an epileptic fit in the street, it's a demon, it's a witch, right? This like superstitious, ridiculous thinking is prevalent through human history. And what's worse, right? So this is like the bad part of it, is that the people who had the wherewithal to know, actually, I'm going to study medicine, I'm going to go out into the forest and see if I could find some bushes or herbs to make me feel better, those people would have been looked upon with the same suspicion, which kind of feeds into the problem with the Dark Ages in Europe. And like basically just like folding people into this, collapsing cultures and people's identity into this view of paganism, inside world versus outside world, in group versus out group. So you didn't have to actually be a witch or like a pagan or a pantheist to be encapsulated in this concept of pagan. It was literally just a way of identifying you as an other. And if you look at it from a systems point of view, when you pair the Roman Empire with theology, right, it produces the same issues that they basically fought back against during the Protestant Reformation, which is that it produces a sacerdotal oligarchy. Sacerdotal is basically just like the clergy class of people within theology. An oligarchy is just like a pooling of power and resources to a group of people. But religion did that, right? And because religion pooled the power amongst the sacerdotal class, in the Islamic world as well, in the Judaic world as well, it gave